Welcome to our momsAWARE video series. Today we are going to learn how to make 12 things for your household with 1 bar of soap. This is momsAWARE's signature soap, just so clean. It has only coconut oil, olive oil, castor oil, and palm stearic flakes. And that's it. So you can be confident that you're not adding any chemicals to your products, and you can do a multitude of things. We're going to start with our 12th item because it's going to take a while, and this is hand milling your own bar of soap. So this is where you get to have fun and be creative. First step is to grate this into as fine of grate as you can, only to make it go faster. If you just want to cut it up for hand milling, you can do that. It will melt. 2 ways that I do it. One is to use an actual cheese grater, in which case you just do that, and you'll collect all the shavings and they'll be ready to cook, as it were. The other option is to use a salad shooter, and it works great in there. Once I've grated it, I'm going to put it either in a double boiler, which totally works, or in this case, I'm putting it in this pot, all grated up, and then I'm going to add a liquid of my choice. And this time, I can use water, I can use green tea, I can use coffee, I can use an herbal infusion of lavender, anything, but it's not very much liquid. So in this case, I'm using some kefir just to add a little probiotic to the mixture. If you want to measure it, you can, but I do it by sight because this is nice and soft, and I kind of mix it around and make sure that it's just enough liquid on the soap that it's not going to burn. That's the main goal, is you don't want the soap to burn. So I'm going to put the top on, and I'm going to put this in the oven at 170, and I'm going to stir it a few times, and then we'll see what's next. Okay, while my hand milled soap is melting so that I can make my own, I'm going to demonstrate the other 11 things on the list. The first is the laundry powder. You simply take your bar of soap and cut it up, grate it, whatever you want to do. You don't need to use a food processor. This is what I do. I take and I've got some scraps, I put it in and I process it. Okay, once I've got that processed, it could have been grated and I wouldn't have had to do that step. I put in 1 cup each of borax and washing soda, and I pour it in, and then I process again. If you don't want to use a food processor, you can just use a whisk and it will combine. Just keep stirring, it'll combine with the powders. But this works great. Okay, and it's very fine. I'm just going to use a tablespoon to 1.5 tablespoons per load. If I have a cold load, I'm going to take that tablespoon. Well, let's do it now, actually. You take a tablespoon of this. You've got this by the washing machine for your laundry. You've got a cold load. You can take a tablespoon and add some water just to dissolve it before you put it in. And then you've kind of got your own liquid soap. That's the easiest way for me to do that. There are lots of other ways to do it. The next item on our list is how to make liquid castile soap. The correct way to make liquid castile soap is actually to use potassium hydroxide. It's a longer chain, and all the science behind that, it makes it less cloudy. But that's really an aesthetic issue. If you don't mind the cloudiness, you can still take your bar of soap and make the liquid castile soap and use it in all these ways and more. So back to the same thing, we're simply going to grate it in order to make it go faster. If you just want to cut up the soap into small pieces, it will dissolve eventually. The idea is just to get it small enough that you pour the hot water and it dissolves. Okay, once I've got that grated, I'm just going to put it in my mason jar. I'll explain why I have that in a minute. And I just put the grated soap in there, about 4 ounces, which is your bar. Depends on how it grates out. It might weigh a little more and a little less. And then you're simply going to add 4 cups hot water. And that's it. So I'm looking, there's the 4 cup mark. You don't have to, and here's why I do this. I put metal in just to take away some of the heat so the glass doesn't break. Mason jars are really strong, but just in case. You stir it over time. It takes a few minutes. You can leave it, come back, stir it some more, use a whisk, whatever you want. And then you have your basic liquid castile soap. I keep this under the sink in the kitchen, and this is what I use for all sorts of recipes that we're going to talk about. I do add a little bit of vegetable glycerin right at the beginning because that adds just more soapiness to it. But as you can see, it's sudsing, and then it will kind of cloud up and you just keep shaking it and using it. So most times I double that. I use 2 bars of soap and I have a whole jar like that. So the next item on the list is what I use to wash dishes. So this is under the sink, and this is what I have right for washing dishes. So I'll take this and I'll pour usually about half to 3/4 or even a quarter. You can kind of tell what works for you, and then I'll fill that with water and I'll have my liquid dish soap. Okay, next on the list is my favorite product of all, because it really does work, and that's our soft scrubber. So I use a squeeze bottle like this. You can use a jar, whatever works for you. So I like this. I get this at a regular store for 99 cents. So I have a bunch of these around. So, you know, basically you're gonna get all the baking soda in there. However it works, you might just try pouring it. It's kind of faster. You add a little bit of liquid castile soap, enough to make kind of a paste. And kind of by sight, the recipe's on the sheet. So you do whatever works for you, and you'll find what works for you. And you shake it, and it will combine with the soap. So you just use it like this. I wouldn't normally use it on granite, but just to show you. And then you wipe it, and it is so great. Just the baking soda and the liquid castile soap. So that's our soft scrubber, and on to the next item. Okay, the next item is your hand soap, and if you have a regular hand soap that you've been using, liquid hand soap, you can empty it out and use your liquid castile soap. I like to buy these foaming dispensers because they're just so easy and you don't need very much soap. I already have some in here, but just to show you that you can add just a little, and then I get some filtered water. Distilled water is always great, but if you have filtered, that's fine. It just makes it last longer. You can add some essential oil, anything that you like, wild orange, lime, lemon, a purifying oil like tea tree oil. But as you can see, it foams just great. Still softening and works so well. All right, on to our next item. The next item is herbal shampoo. This is also very simple. So you've got your liquid castile soap. If you've run out and you're making more products, just make the same recipe again. Have it on hand, and take your favorite herbal tea or whatever herbs you want to use for your hair. There's so many good ones like nettle, comfrey, calendula, all sorts depending on what your condition of your hair is or what it needs nutritionally. I made a combination of nettle and birch and calendula right here of tea. So all I need is 4 ounces of a tea. So if you did a tea bag, that works. And 8 ounces of your liquid castile soap. So I'm going to get 1 cup. I'm going to pour, I like these squeeze bottles again, even though they're plastic, they still work. You could use a mason jar. For sure, you could use a mason jar. And then about a 1/2 cup of the tea. Strained tea. And you've got your herbal shampoo. And when you use it, and you're going to want to shake it every time, you don't need much in order to have clean hair. Just a little bit and clean it, and then try and condition it with something more acidic like apple cider vinegar or lemon juice to bring back the pH of the hair. But that's it for herbal shampoo. On to the next one. Up next is our car wash. Again, take your liquid castile soap, about a 1/4 cup. Obviously, you can do this by sight because it doesn't matter. Fill it with water outside, and let's go see. All right, next one is bug spray, homemade bug spray. They don't like a lot of the essential oils like citronella, peppermint, lemongrass, and a host, eucalyptus, lemon eucalyptus, a whole host of essential oils that will repel bugs. Neem oil. A good base to use with your essential oils is a combination of witch hazel and liquid castile soap. So I'm just going to make a little, enough for this bottle here. Again, I just do this by sight. Feel free to just follow the exact measurements. But since this is a small bottle, I just want, all I want is, I want some witch hazel in there. And then I want just a little bit of castile soap, like that. And then I'm going to add lemongrass, because that is It smells so good, but they do not like it. So I'm adding maybe 10 drops. That's kind of a lot, but if I'm really going to be outside, I would want something strong. You don't have to do that much. You can combine oils. It can be whatever you want, whatever you think will work, and then you've got a bug spray. Next is pet shampoo, particularly dogs, cats. You have to be very careful of, and I don't know a whole lot about cats, but we use this shampoo for our little puppy, who's a Maltese Yorkie mix. And it's either this or the coconut oil he ingests, but the vet says he has the softest fur he's ever seen. So here's how I make it. I just take about 8 ounces of water. The recipe says 10. I just do this by sight. Since I already have some, I'm making a little bit less. So I do the distilled water. I put in a little bit, again, a little bit of castile soap goes a long way. Feel free to measure. Then I add a little bit of glycerin because that really adds some nice shampoo value. You can do this with the herbal shampoo that we talked about as well. And for our puppy, I use geranium oil because it's a natural flea repellent. Plus it smells really good. I only use 1 drop in this whole glass, maybe 2, not much. If you want to add some disinfecting properties, some tea tree oil, again, I just do 1, 2 drops. And then I have this on hand anytime we want to give him a bath, and you just shake it up. And that's it. Now on to the next item. Okay, before we get to our 11th item, I want to update you on our hand milled soap. So you can see this is melting perfectly. It's actually ready to go, but I'm going to put it aside while we do the next item, and then we're going to make our own bar of soap. Okay, now we're ready for our 11th item, and this is bubble bath. This is safe for the kids, easy to make. So I'm going to take the last bit of where we started, which was 4 cups. I'm going to put it, for this case, in a measuring cup. I probably would use another mason jar. I'm going to add a tiny bit of coconut oil because it's going to make it nice and softening, but you do have to be careful getting in and out of the bath. And then the fun part, you can add whatever essential oil you like, whatever you like. This is frankincense, which has its unique smell, but it makes it so relaxing for the bath, very calming for the nervous system. I also love lavender. That's me, but I'll show you how it works in running water. Okay, our 12th item I think is the most fun. As I showed you, this is totally ready and melted. I could certainly just put it back in and remold it without adding anything, but there wouldn't be a point to that. So for this bar of soap, I'm going to add a little bit of coffee because I love the smell of coffee, and it would be great soap in the kitchen for those garlic smells. I'm going to add a little bit of clove. You can do anything. You can put in ground herbs. You can use any essential oil. You can add honey. You can add oats. You can. This is the creative part, and so simple. So I'm doing, again, this very simple. My liquid could have been coffee too, a little bit of coffee. But as you can see, a little goes a long way with the liquid when you're using the oven method. It didn't burn. And I have parchment paper. Actually, this is wax paper. Parchment paper works great in this little enamel cast iron dish. But you can use anything for a mold. There are plenty of molds at the craft stores, or whatever you want to use, you can use. It doesn't take much to make soap. This is the easy part because then you don't have to work with the lye. All you do is melt it and add what you want. The other part that's great with hand milling is the essential oil smells last with this method. So I'm going to try and create, I usually do more. If I were going to go to this kind of trouble, I would do at least 3 bars. But the goal was to show you what you could do with 1 bar. And basically you're just remaking it into this, and then you're going to let it sit for 24 hours. 24 hours later, it's going to harden up like this did. This was a lavender soap that I redid. And so you can see there's chunks of other soap in there. It's so much fun. So I encourage you to enjoy. And there you have it, 12 things to do with 1 bar of soap. Thanks for watching.